Okay, I'm going to work through the answers with you, and you guys can go back over this video as many times as you need, but this is answers to your practice test 2. Okay, determine whether the relation is a function, and then if it is a function, tell whether it's linear or nonlinear. So in number 1, I don't see any repeats. 0 is matched with -8, 2 with -3, 4 with 3, 6 with 7. So that tells me that it is a function. So I'm just going to put F for function. And then is it linear or nonlinear? This one would have to have the continuous same slope. So from -8 to -3 is going up 5. And then 0 to 2 is going up 2. Let's see if that rate stays the same. From -3 to 3, it goes up 6. And from 2 to 4, it's still 2. So that is going to be nonlinear because the rate would have to stay the same. The slope would have to stay the same. So I'm going to say it is a function, but it is nonlinear. Okay, for the second one, it looks like 0, -4, 1, -2, 2, 0, 3, 2. So none of those are paired. Every input is paired with exactly one output. So that one is a function. And let's check the slope. That's going up 2 per 1. That's going up 2 per 1. And that is also going up 2 per 1. So the rate is the same. So this one is a function and it is linear. Alright, for number 3, anytime it has an x or a y and you could solve and you could draw a line and move your 4 to the other side and do all of that, it is going to be a function. And then it is also going to be linear because it doesn't have anything crazy like, it doesn't have any squareds in it or any x, y squished together or any x or y on the denominator of anything. So it is a function and it is linear. Alright, on number 4, we could make a table and we could actually figure out an x for each y, having different input and output values. So this one is still a function, but you can't have an xy being multiplied together and be linear. So this one is a function, but it is going to be non-linear. Alright, so for our answers, because I know you're all really worried about writing them in the blanks off to the side. Function, non-linear. 2 was function linear. 3 was function linear. And 4 was function nonlinear. So they were all actually functions this time. Okay, moving on to number 5. Determine whether the domain is discrete or continuous, and go ahead and find the domain and range. We've talked about that a lot. That are the x and y values for this particular shape, for that graph. Okay. So there are lots of different points, and with arrows on the ends it tells us that actually our x and y values will continue, but I'm just going to go ahead and choose a few of them that are represented here. So I would choose maybe this dot, which looks like it is -4, 5. I would maybe choose this one, which looks like it is -3, 3. This one is -2, 1. I'm not going to choose the vertex, this bottom one, because that's not at an actual intersecting coordinate point. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to choose that one, which is -1, 1. And then I'm going to choose this one, which is 0, 3. And then I'll also choose this one. And that one looks like it is 1, 5. Okay, so there are some of our domain and range. Again, it's not all of the possibilities because the arrows tell us that it goes on and on, but there are a few of them, and because it does go on and on, that tells us that it is continuous. Continuous. Alright, so that's our domain. The x values are our domain. The range is our y values, and continuous. I'm making a mess of this paper, sorry. Excuse me. Okay, for number 6, You're just going to list the domain and range that is given, and there's only a few that are given. So one of the points, this one, is -1, -1. This point is, looks like it's 0, 3. This point is 2, -1. And this point is 4, -2. And those are the only domain and range because those are the only points on the graph. And since they're not connected, it is considered to be discrete. Okay, for 7, 8, and 9, this is the one where we have to have 3 different answers because it wants us to evaluate the function when x is -3 and then do it all over again when x is -2 and then do it all over again when x is 1. So this one I'm actually really afraid on number 7 you guys might have missed it because I want you guys to know that you would have to square whatever the number is first and then the negative outside here attaches back to it. So that's going to make a difference. If you guys happen to add the negative on there first, like this, and then try to square it, it's going to be a different answer. And what you need to know is anytime you have a squared, an exponent, you need to do that first. And it's like a hidden invisible -1 being multiplied to it. And so you would do order of operations and you would square your exponent first. So you guys might have missed a few of these. Yep, even you, Brett. You might have missed these. Check your answer. Okay, so the first one is going to be negative and then -3 squared and then -7. So -3 squared is +9, but the negative attaches itself back to it and then -7. So -9 minus 7 is -16. So let me erase all that, and for my first answer I'm going to put -16. I'm way over there on the line somewhere, kind of. Alright, the next one I'm going to do is -2. So you've got a -2 squared minus 7. There's Rocky Dog going crazy. Sorry. -2 squared is +4. The negative attaches itself back to it, and then you've got -7. So -4 minus 7 is -11. So over on the line I'm going to write -11. Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened to it. -16 and now -11. Okay, and then the last one, plug in 1. So you've got -1 squared minus 7. So 1 squared is 1, but that would make it -1 minus 7, which is -8. Ugh, it keeps erasing. Anyway, whatever. Here are the answers. -16, -11, -8. Alright, Brett, be honest. Did you get them right? I don't think so. No, I'm just kidding. You probably did. Okay, on the second one, -3 is our first one that is going to plug in over here for x. So -2 times -3 is +6, and then -6 more. +6 minus 6 is just 0. So the whole thing is just 0. Alright, oops. Then you're going to plug in -2 for x. So -2 times -2 is 4. 4 minus 6 is -2, but we are inside absolute value bars, which means just how far away is it from 0. It's always going to be a positive answer. So your answer is just going to be +2. Alright, and now let's try 1 in for x. -2 times 1 is -2. Minus 6 is -8, but remember, in absolute value bars, our answers are positive, so it's +8. Alright, last one. It is half of, remember we talked about this in class, half of x means half times x. So half multiplied by x. So whenever we take -3, we can say what is half of -3. So that would be -half minus 1 is, wait, half of -3, sorry, is 1.5 minus 1, which would be -2.5. For sake of room, I'm going to put 0.5. Alright, now we've got -2. So half of -2 is -1, minus 1 more is -2. And then lastly, 1, so half of 1 is half, minus 1 more is -half. Sorry. Okay, X and Y intercepts. I know you guys can't see my hand, but what I'm doing for number 14 is I'm covering up my 2x. I'm completely putting my finger all over the 2x. And so all I can see is negative 3y equals negative 10. So if I were to divide both sides by negative 3, I would have my y-intercept, which is, here I'm going to put this off to the side. My y-intercept is going to be, what did I say, 10 thirds? 10 divided by 3. I'm just going to leave it like that. So 10 divided by 3, which is 10 thirds. Okay, my x-intercept, I know you guys can't see my finger, but I'm covering up the negative 3y now. And all I can see is 10x equals negative 10, or sorry, 2x equals negative 10. So I would divide both sides by 2, and my x-intercept is, gosh, it doesn't like me to do dots, whatever. My x-intercept is negative 5. All right, on 15, I'm going to first cover up my x. So all I'm looking at is 5y equals negative 8. If I divided both sides by 5, my y-intercept would be negative 8/5. And I am totally fine with you guys just leaving it like that. All right, my x-intercept. I am now covering up my y, my 5y. And so I can see 2x equals negative 8. That means x equals negative 4. All right, in this last one, we have to do a little bit of solving real quick first. The x and y have to be on the same side. So I think I'm going to get rid of this plus 4 first and move it over to here. And then I'm going to have to add 3y to get it to go to the other side. So I'm going to add 3y over here. So I've got 3y minus 8 equals 18. Okay, so I know again you can't see my fingers, but I am covering up my negative x. And so all I can see is 3y equals 18. So that would mean that my y-intercept is 6. And then now I'm covering up my 3y, so I've got a negative x equals 18. If I divided both sides by negative 1, that would mean my x-intercept is negative 18. Okay, I've moved down and I'm looking at 17 and 18 now. All we have to do is graph it. You guys have done that for a long time. The problem is, in order to graph it, the equations have to be in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to take my 2x minus 3y equals 9, and I'm going to rearrange it. So minus your 2x, minus 2x, bring down negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 9, divide by negative 3. I'll get rid of all my work that's a mess here in a minute. It is a mess. Just pretend it's Evan's paper. Alright. Minus 3. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this up here for a sec. 2/3 x minus 3. Okay, let me get rid of that. Hold on. 2/3 x minus 3. So y equals 2/3 x minus 3. Okay, remember you have to put your first dot at the y-intercept. Have to. So I'm going to go down on my y-axis and I'm going to put my first dot, if it lets me, at negative 3. And then from there, my slope is 2/3, so it's up 2 over 3. Put a dot. I think that's the only one that fits on your paper. I guess you could go back down 2 over 3 from your y-intercept, and that one would fit too. Line through it, arrows on both ends, please. Okay, on 18, same thing, we got to rearrange it. So I'm going to plus 4, plus 4. So negative 2y equals 8. Divide both sides by negative 2. Y equals negative 4. Okay, let me get rid of that for a minute. Y equals negative 4. Sorry, this is taking forever. Okay, y equals negative 4. I want to be sure you guys know you can either memorize that that's either a horizontal or vertical line and you can figure that out and that's fine with me, or if you forget, what it means is you can choose any, oh my gosh, I have no idea what that just did. Sorry. You can choose any value you want for x, but every single y value is going to be negative 4. So anytime y is negative 4, that means y is always negative 4. So you can pick 1, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. So let's graph these 3 points real quick just to see what our line ends up looking like. So 1, negative 4 would be over 1 down 4, 2 negative 4 would be over 2 down 4. 3 negative 4 would be over 3 down 4. So that is ending up making a horizontal line. So if you're not sure that y equals negative 4 goes horizontal versus going vertical and missing that and getting it wrong on a test, go ahead and make a little table. And if it says y equals negative 4, then that means every single y equals negative 4. If it were to say x equals whatever, then every single x value would equal that, and you would graph it and see what it looks like. Okay, so let's flip it over and look at the next page, or the back. Okay, with number 19, it says the points represented on the table lie on a line, find the slope. So it's not even asking us to do an entire equation. You just have to find the slope. So this will go really quickly. Okay, so 3 to 3 is 0. 1 to negative 4 is subtracting 5. So you have 0 divided by negative 5. If you're having trouble remembering whether that comes out to be 0 or undefined, put it in your calculator. Divide 0 divided by negative 5, and this one actually comes out to be 0. So the slope on 19 is 0. You might have also been able to tell that because if you were graphing it, you'd put a dot at 1, 3, and then at negative 4, 3, and then at negative 3, 3. So anyway, it's going to end up being a 0 slope horizontal. So you could always just graph it in your head or whatever. Okay, on number 20, we got to find the slope. From here to here, it looks like it's going up 3 and 2. So 3 over 2 is your slope. 3 over 2. We don't have to check the rest of them because it already tells us that it lies on a line. So it's saying it is linear. So we really only need to find one time. Okay, for the number 21, it says that it's giving you this equation. C equals 100 plus 0.30 m. C is dollars and m is miles. Identify the independent and the dependent variables. So here's what I would do. On a graph, remember, this is my dependent variable and this is my independent variable. And dependent variable is almost always, especially in math, money. So that's going to be your C cost. Or you could also look at it as this is my y equals mx plus b. And y is my cost, so that is the y-axis, so that's cost, which is dependent. So on part A, we're going to say that dependent is cost, and independent variable is miles. All right, the next part of that question, excuse me, the next part of that question says what would it cost to rent a car and drive 100 miles? So basically it's telling you 100 is your M, 100 is your miles. So take 100, go right in there for M. So I know I'm writing all over the place, but I'm going to take this equation and rewrite it down here for a minute. C equals 100 plus 0.30, not M. It wants us to represent 100 for your miles, so 100. So then you're just going to solve that. That would be, what is that, 30? And that's 100 plus 30. So my entire cost is going to be $130. All right, let me erase all that. Okay, the last question says now we're going to flip it. Now instead of telling you how many miles, now we're going to say how many miles if the cost is $149. So now we're going to take this and put it in right here for cost. And we're going to see how many miles then that would be. So instead of cost, we're going to put 149.50 equals 100 plus 0.30 m. And you're just going to solve the equation. Minus 100. What is that? 139.50 equals 0.30 m. Divide both sides by 0.30. And then the number of miles, I'm going to put it in my calculator. Looks like it's 165. So that would be, for part C, 165 miles. Okay, I'm going to clear that too. Last few answers identify slope, y-intercept, and x-intercept. So on this one, it's already in slope-intercept form. So the slope is what's in front of x, which is -1. So my slope is -1. All right, x and y intercepts, these have to be rearranged. I'm going to add x to this side so that my final equation, I'm writing all over the place, is x plus y equals 3. And I'm covering up the x to see that y equals 3, so my y-intercept is 3. And I'm covering up now the y to see that x equals 3. So I have an x and a y-intercept of 3. Okay, on number 23, it's in standard form right now, so I'm going to do my x and y intercepts first. So I know you can't see me, but I'm covering up the 4x. So what I have is my y-intercept first, and in order to see what I have for my y-intercept, I'm going to divide by -6 on both sides. And honestly, I'm just going to leave it -14/6. Here's what you can do though. You can simplify. You can divide both of those by 2. So that instead of 14 and 6, it'd be, what, 7 and 3? So -7/3. So my y-intercept is -7/3. Okay? I don't have room on this, so I'm going to clear my screen again. Sorry to keep doing that, but you should have it on your paper. Okay, my x-intercept this time, I'm going to cross off that. So now all I can see is 4x equals 14. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And again, I'm going to leave it 14/4, but I'm just going to divide them both by 2. So I'm going to have 7/2. So my x-intercept is 7/2. Okay, and then the very last thing I need to do on this one is find my slope. So, I'm going to -4x. I have to rearrange it in slope-intercept form. Sorry, that's what I'm doing. -4x plus 14. Divide both sides by -6. So this is my slope, and really that's all I want. It's just asking for the slope. So -4 divided by -6, that would be +2/3. So my slope on this one must be 2/3. Okay, last one. Gosh, this is taking forever. Alright, so last one. I am going to -4. And I have 3y equals -14. Divide both sides by 3. So my equation, once I've rearranged it, is y equals -14/3. Okay, let's talk about what that means. I don't have an x. There's no x anywhere in this entire equation. So that means that the x-intercept is none. That means there's no x-intercept. If I don't have an x anywhere in this equation, there's no x-intercept. And if there's no x-intercept, think of what it would look like on a graph. If it never hits this x-axis anywhere, then that means it is going to be horizontal. And it's going to be horizontal on my y-intercept, which is at -14/3. Forgot to write that. Y-intercept, -14/3. And so for the slope, if it's horizontal at somewhere down here, -14/3, I don't really know what that is. That'd be like, what, -4 2/3 or something. So it's a little bit more than 4. Okay, that is a horizontal slope. So that slope, if it's horizontal, is 0 slope. This is 0 fun. No comment. Will, Evan. Okay, so that's the entire thing. Your test looks like this. Sorry it took so long. I didn't mean for it to, but now you guys should be pretty prepared for Friday's test. Good luck.